Oh, hello, YouTube. So, continuing with our astrology series, Lady Gaga is in the spotlight for today for a dissection of her birth chart, of course. Though something tells me she'd probably enjoy being dissected on stage as part of some sort of performance. It seems like her sort of thing. Anyway, I have her listed as March 28th, 1986, which makes her an Aries. And if I added all that stuff up, it makes our birth path one. Ones are definitely the achievers, and they're always after the fame and the fortune, and very Leo energy with the ones. Also a tiger. Tigers are often go-get-em kind of creatures, too. People born on the 28th of the month, she's March 28th, also harness that one energy in their day-to-day basis, too. The 28th, anytime you just keep adding it, and then until it's a single digit. So 2 and 8 being 10, and 1 and 0 being 1. So there's that one energy again. Now, Sun in Aries is powered by Mars, the Ram, so that's very aggressive, intuitive, go-get-em energy. And this is right in the 11th house, which is media and public image and the internet, and also associations, too. Professional associations. So 11th house associations are like... they would be groups that you belong to, societies, also things like your professional partnerships in your career. So not people you work with on a day-to-day level at the coffee shop. I mean like Bernie Taupin to Elton John, like those types of professional partnerships. And lately she seems to have a really high-profile one with that Serbian artist, Marina Abramovic, which I'd like to check her chart out too. Both of these ladies... have this particular obsession with blood and bodily fluids and menstrual blood and cooking with it and bathing in it and talking about it and making art with it and painting with it, and that's maybe a subject for another video or not. But now this also, she has a moon in Scorpio. Now this is one of the most emotionally intense moons. So it's definitely where the sun is exalted in Aries, the moon is in its kind of descent in Scorpio. So Scorpio is historically also ruled by Mars, so there's a bit of sort of yin-yang possibilities. But in more modern times, it's, I mean, two sides of that Martian energy, I shouldn't say yin-yang. But in more modern times, it's ruled by Pluto. This is the sex and death and destruction and decay house. Now, very serious stuff, but also necessary, remember. It's necessary to tear down to rebuild, right? So that Scorpio moon is in the 5th house, which is really Leo energy. More spotlight again, but it's also the house of children and children's pastimes. So she certainly gets a lot of attention for these really, really demonic performances that seem a lot more like rituals. And the big concern is that many of her fans aren't really old enough to get the shock value performance art shtick of her show. A lot of her fans are 9. Let that sink in. Now, I'm not being judgmental, but I would suggest using caution. I mean, I went through this phase as well in my life. Like, instead of Lady Gaga, it was Kiss for me. And I was the biggest Kiss fan in the world when I was 8. But when you grow into an adult and kind of look at some of those songs again, some of them are pretty inappropriate for kids. I ended up okay. Maybe everyone else will be too. Maybe we're making too big of a deal out of it. But, or not, I don't know. She's a Gemini rising. Now, this rules duality and multiple identities. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. A lot of celebrities have this, particularly lately. It also rules like youth, intellect, and the voice. Speaking voice and engagements more than singing, but she actually has a fairly good singing voice, I think. But it also, Geminis can also, on the surface, be very dilettantish. And this is why she looks different every time you see her, is that Gemini rising, right? It's, in fact, her looks fluctuate so much. It's hard to know whether or not she's even really attractive. I still haven't really made up my mind. You know, sometimes you think, hey, she's a nice looking lady, and other times, not so much. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry's girlfriend's appearances keep fluctuating. Anyway, there I go again. But the other thing that she has opposing that rising sign is she has Neptune, Mars, and Uranus conjunction. That's a big, intense bundle of energy opposing her ascendant, suggesting that maybe looks can be deceiving, that maybe the woman known as Stephanie Germanata, which is her birth name, is a very different person than Lady Gaga. There's other evidence in this chart to suggest that that's probably so. And now I've also heard theories that she might be an MK Ultra, like mind control slave, the way a lot of modern pop stars seem to be. I can't prove that conclusively, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out. You'd have to look that up. I'd have to do another video on that. There's lots of good ones on the internet that do this stuff. But like all big pop culture celeb types, Angelina Jolie, Paris Hilton, Nicole Kidman, she has Jupiter right on her midheaven. That's big, expansive fortune, fame, energy right in your public image. So it's like they're born to be stars, right? Born this way, as her song says. And all this stuff, her midheaven is Pisces, which is probably the most enigmatic of all the signs. Very sensitive, romantic, it's very creative, it's unpredictable, but also Pisces rules illusions and deceptions and fantasies too. So definitely you can see that happening. It also rules the collective unconsciousness of her entire fan base. So she's tapping into something that everybody seems to be resonating with, or else why would she be here, right? Now she has a Sun-Neptune square. And this is a really challenging aspect because, you've got the challenge of illusion versus who she really is in her identity, right? That's a really confusing one for people born with that, right? They often they might lose track of even who they are on a day-to-day basis, bringing a bit of a schizophrenic feel to some of her life, I'm sure. Now, from some of these things, I would gather that Stephanie Germanata is likely a very multi-talented, driven and creative and intellectual young lady, very creative, which we occasionally see glimpses of. I think she's very talented. But I also think that she's been co-opted and transformed into something called Lady Gaga, which isn't always... it doesn't have the kids' best interests in mind. I think she's being manipulated, I think, from fairly sinister, unseen forces, other people's money, if you will. She's got Chiron in the 12th house. That's sort of suggests something, into bringing a lot of these dark, occult, satanic ritual behaviors and normalizing it for mainstream tweeny bopper, mall-going American girls. Now, I'm not implicating her at all. In fact, I sympathize with her. I sympathize with a lot of these young pop stars. I get the feeling that they probably thought they were gonna just be able to sing and dance and have some fun, and I'm glad she did that at the Super Bowl. She didn't use no grandstanding and virtue signaling. She did actually get out there and perform, and my wife saw it and she said it was very good. So, well, good on her. If that's the direction she would like to go, I think that's probably a wise thing these days. So that's what I think. I think that there's definitely some disassociative identity behind who this girl really is and her public performance and what she's being used for. She's certainly worth keeping an eye on either way. But anyway, I think that might be it, just as a surface glance at her chart. I'm sure I'm missing lots of big stuff, but any thoughts, leave a comment or subscribe to my channel for more of these.